What's going on, everyone? Jackson here from Vendetta Sports Media, back with another episode of our NBA 2020-2021 season preview series. Again, joining me today,
21, 22.
21, 22. Dude, I'm a year behind. I'm a year behind on everything. Dude, COVID has just messed me up so bad. I don't even know what year it is anymore. But anyway, 2021, 2022 series previews. Man, this has been what an intro this has been. Anyway, I've got with me again today Jared. This time we will be going over the Los Angeles Lakers, who made some big splashes this past offseason. So, Jared, let's go ahead and get right into it. Give me a brief overview of what the Lakers did last season.
All right, last season, a little bit disappointing, 42 and 30. On a normal regular season, that's the equivalent of 48 wins. They finished seventh in the West, 24th in offense. Really disappointing, but first overall in defense, which with the personnel they've got, Frank Vogel as coach, that's probably about right. A top five defense is definitely what the Lakers should be. Eighth in point differential at plus 2.8. Obviously, a quite famous first-round flame-out to the Suns that you, me, and a few other people, we were on a live stream for I think it was game 6 where they went out, and Trey declared his man love for Jay Crowder. I don't know whether Jay Crowder's responding to any of Trey's messages yet, but I'm sure.
We'll keep trying.
Oh, we need to sync him up on some dating site.
Need to get Jay Crowder on cheese.
Oh my God. No, we can't, because all it will be is Trey giggling. He loves the man so much. Back to the Lakers. They started out the season absolutely humming. They were looking for all the money in the world, like the best team in the league. But a combination of injuries, some COVID-related protocols, and hiring Andre Drummond to apparently play for them, that seemed to torpedo them pretty seriously. And by the time the playoffs came around, they still weren't healthy, and they still had Andre Drummond, and that's the result you get. You lose in the first round. Some ins and outs, my God, this could be a podcast in itself. We'll look at the outs. They pretty much traded half of their rotation to get him Russell Westbrook. But they lost Wes Matthews, Dennis Schroeder, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Trez Harrell, Kuzma, Caruso. Gasol's gone back to Spain. Drummond's gone to Philly. Markieff Morris is in Miami. Ben McLemore is, I think, in Portland. And you look at who they brought in, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk, Melo, Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington, Rajon Rondo, Kent Bazemore, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan. But that buries the lead, because the big player they brought in was Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, Westbrook, not too kindly liked by some people here at Vendetta, specifically throwing it back to our boss man Trey.
That's the podcast we need to get.
Yeah, for as equal of a love as he has for Jay Crowder, so is his hate for Russell Westbrook. Which makes it it's funny to see Trey talk about Russell Westbrook.
It's vitriolic. I've never seen a man fire up so quickly. You just mention his name. It's incredible.
Yeah. But so they brought in, like you said, they pretty much changed their entire roster except for LeBron and Anthony Davis. It feels like they're really the only two people that are there. They've brought Dwight Howard back. They brought Rajon Rondo back. But there's a host of other new players that are coming in. Is there any of the new players, or maybe even just LeBron and AD themselves, that you would consider as the key player? And then go ahead and roll that into your X factor for the Lakers this season.
Yeah. Well, the key player has got to be LeBron. Look, he's obviously getting older, but you have a look at his stats last season: 25 points. A little bit under 8 rebounds, a little bit under 8 assists, a bit over a steal a game, hitting more threes than he ever has. He's still elite. The man is legitimately old as an athlete, and he's still elite. It's remarkable to watch him doing what he is doing when he has quite seriously played half of his actual life as a professional basketballer. It's absurd what he does. Having said that, there are two concerns with LeBron. And they both sort of came to the fore last season. One of them is that age/wear and tear that 18 seasons of NBA basketball put on a body. He played 45 games last season, He played 55 games 2 seasons ago. He played most of the split season between the season and the bubble, but there was a split in the season. He essentially got months off to recuperate, rest, and he pushed the Lakers through to a championship. The 2 seasons either side, he has been injured. So, we always thought he was a cyborg. He's showing that no man can win the race against Father Time. LeBron is aging, and his games played do show it. The other is his decline in athleticism. If you look at two things, his free throw attempts, in the last 2 seasons, he's averaged 5.7 attempts a game. They are his career lows. On the flip side, 6.3 attempts from beyond the arc last season, easily a career high. He has developed from a guy who couldn't shoot beyond my arm, and he didn't have to, into a really good jump shooter. Not elite by any means, but really good. But he is leaning on that jump shot more and more. He can't get to the rim in the way he used to. So he is a different type of basketballer now. He's still a wrecking ball, but he just can't wreck shit as much as he used to. And on this team, with the limited spacing that they've got, and we'll get to that later, that could be an issue. Now, you mentioned X Factor. I mean, I don't think there's a bigger X Factor in the league this season than Russell Westbrook. Russ has built his career on believing that he is the best player on the floor at all times. The man played with KD, he played with Harden, he's played with Beal. And I can tell you, Russ would have come out and said, if you put some truth serum into him, he would have said, yeah, I'm the man. I am the best player on these teams. And he would have absolutely believed it. That's the way he's built. It's why he's been able to build the career he has. But surely, even he has to know that at his age on this team, that he is the third wheel. Surely he has to know that. I'm not. Maybe I'm trying to convince myself, but surely he knows that.
I mean, you would think so, and I don't buy for a second. I'll believe it when I see it. When the trade happened, when the trade initially happened, there were reports coming out where Westbrook had met with LeBron and AD in Los Angeles to potentially talk about if this trade were to go through, what would playing be like. And they're all talking about how less of a role they're going to take. And that's all fine and dandy when the season starts, because they're trying to figure things out. But as the season goes along, as we get closer to the playoffs, as we get into the playoffs, their old personalities are going to show up. How many times have we seen LeBron flip-flop back into the guy that we've seen sometimes where he's extremely passive and he's not attacking the rim? AD saying that he wants to play the 5, but then he plays more outside instead of trying to dominate inside. Westbrook talk about how he's going to be more than willing to take a back seat and let the star of the team take over, and he's throwing up like 20, 30-foot shots 5 seconds into the shot clock in a 4-point game with less than a minute left.
That's the thing. Once the ball goes up, all of that talk is just talk. They've got to prove it on the court. Now, LeBron's obviously proven it time and time again. KD had a really good playoffs 2 seasons ago. Westbrook hasn't proven that he can be a cog in a really high-end winning machine. He hasn't yet. And, there'll be Westbrook truthers out there who will hate me for this, but it is the truth. He has never shown that he can be a key cog in a winning machine. Now, he's still a great player. 22, 11, and 11 last season. 1.5 steals. And look, the steals come from a lot of gambling, but he still gets them. The big issue is going to be how he fits, as you said. And I think part of this falls on Vogel, how Vogel uses him as well. Now, as much as AD has said he's going to play the 5, I think that will happen late in the season / playoffs. Through the grind of an 82-game season, I still think he's going to spend at least 2/3 of his time as a 4. So you throw in that AD playing as a 4, that means that either Jordan or Howard play the 5. You throw Westbrook and LeBron out there. Now, I mentioned that roll call of shooters that they've brought in. They can only play one of them. Now, there's just not enough. You can't play with 7 blokes on the floor. If you put those 3 players plus a center, there is only room for one shooter. Do you go with Nunn? Do you go with Ellington? Do you go with Monk? Do you go with Melo? No matter what happens, you are only going to have one legitimate spacer out there. And none of those spaces are exactly defensive stoppers either. So Westbrook isn't much of a stopper. The centers aren't really that good defensively, outside of rebounding, which is a key part of defense. The big thing for me is, I mentioned how Westbrook will be used. If the idea, and this was the idea with Dennis Schroeder, is that when LeBron sits and AD sits and they sort of tether their minutes, is that Schroeder could essentially be the one-man show. Now, if there is a man equipped to be a one-man show against second units in the NBA, it's Russell Westbrook. He could go dead set bonkers playing against second units for 7 or 8 minute stretches in the second and third terms. So in that scenario where it's basically, okay, AD sits, LeBron sits, Russ, here's the ball, do your thing, that could work really, really well. And that's where the X factor comes in. What's Russell's mindset, but also how does Frank Vogel use him?
Agree 100%. So we'll go ahead and we'll move and get this episode wrapped up. Jared, what do you see happening for the Lakers this year? How far do they make it? Where do they finish out west? Are they a top contender like some people think? Are they somewhere, like a middle of the road team, because they're such a wild card to me with all, and you mentioned, I feel like just one X factor. I feel like you said, there could be an entire podcast dedicated to just talking about the Lakers and every single issue, the age factor, injury factor. AD is practically the real life version of Samuel L. Jackson's character from Unbreakable, the M. Night Shyamalan like superhero movies. Mr. Glass, I think, is his name. So what do you see the Lakers doing this year?
Look, this prediction is based purely on the fact that LeBron James will be out for blood. I think they'll be the number 1 seed in the West. Vegas has got them at 53 wins. I've got them at 56. I think that LeBron's revenge tour will carry them through. And also the fact that Russ, hopefully they do use him against second units, because his per minute numbers could be astronomical if they use him against second units. But I think they will struggle in the playoffs. In the playoffs, you want your biggest players and your best, your biggest name players. I think AD will play more 5, but all it takes is one injury to LeBron, or all it takes is those shooters. Then there'll be 2 shooters on the floor if Davis plays the 5. All it takes is those shooters to go into their shell, never having been in that situation for most of them. Even AD, he's not really a proven option deep into, he's had one good run in the most unusual circumstances ever, being the Orlando bubble. I want to see it from him again before I legitimately believe he's a late season assassin. I think that in the playoffs, Russ could Russ it up as well. I think that his ego could take over. I think they'll make the second round. And again, this all depends on matchups, but I think they'll make the second round and get knocked out. They'll do a Utah from last season.
All right. I mean, I could easily see it, and like you said, it's all depending on matchups, and I'm really looking forward to this NBA season for a lot of reasons. I think the storylines are great. I think the teams are great. I think players being healthy, great for the league. But that's going to wrap up this episode again with the Los Angeles Lakers. Make sure that if you enjoy the video to hit the like button and subscribe, and then hit the notification bell so that way you can be notified whenever another season preview comes out. We're going to be rapidly moving through these. The season is approaching a lot quicker than what you might think. Media Day was just the other day, and then people are like, oh, it's like 2 weeks from the season started. I'm like, are you kidding me?
3 weeks away. 3 weeks away.
That is insane. I cannot believe it. It is almost time for NBA. What a time to be a sports fan. We got NFL, college football, basketball, hockey starting up soon. The MLB playoffs are coming up in October. It's a great time to be alive if you're a sports fan, and that's what we all are here at Vendetta Sports Media, sports fans. Anyway, thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm Jackson Law. He's Jared. We're part of the Vendetta Sports Media NBA team, and we will see you guys next time.